The third time is the charm, I'm quite sure of it. Hello, boys and girls. I've got a brand new microphone and I'm feeling myself. Let's get back into it, y'all. We're reading John C. Maxwell, The 21 Indispensable Qualities of a Leader, becoming the person others will want to follow. If you've been following up to this point, please make sure that you like, share, subscribe, all of that social media stuff. I certainly do appreciate it. You could be anywhere watching any video. You're here right now. Thank you. But this book, we're about a third of the way through it. What was I saying? If you've been following up to this point, then you know we've already read chapters 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6. So today we'll be covering chapters 7 and 8. There's 21 chapters in the book. That's what led me to say that we're about a third of the way through. Let's dive right into it. The sunlight right outside my bedroom window is gorgeous, and I want to make the most of it. Chapter 7, Discernment. Put an end to unsolved mysteries. Smart leaders believe only half of what they hear. Discerning leaders know which half to believe. That's by John C. Maxwell. Fitting quote for a chapter about discernment. Second quote, the first rule of holes. When you're in one, stop digging. That's by Molly Ivins, a columnist. Maria Sklodowska always wanted to get, this section is called Always at the Heart of the Matter. Maria Sklodowska always wanted to get to the heart of things. As a child growing up in Poland, she loved school and learning. When her parents lost their teaching jobs and took in boarders to survive, she spent endless hours helping others with the chores. But that didn't stop her from finishing first in her high school class, and the exams were in Russian. He was a bad man in general. Since higher education wasn't available to her, she became a governess and a tutor. Somehow, she managed to save enough money to send her older sister through medical school in Paris. Then, she also moved to France to study at the Sorbonne. 2 years later, she finished first in her class in physics. Another year of study earned her a master's degree in mathematics. It was then that she turned her attention full-time to research, conducting experiments for a French industrial society. But her real passion was searching for the secret to uranium's rays. While looking for a better laboratory, Maria met the man who would become her husband and research partner, Pierre. You've probably heard of Maria Sklodowska, but it's likely that you learned the name she preferred after she married Pierre Curie in 1895. She called herself Madame Marie Curie. Madame Curie went on to do groundbreaking work in the field of radioactivity, a term she coined, and she opened the door to the study of nuclear physics and modern medical radiology. And when Pierre died in an accident in 1906, Marie Curie continued the work and made many additional breakthroughs. Life is not easy for any of us, she once said. But what of that? We must have perseverance and, above all, confidence in ourselves. We must believe that we are gifted for something and that this thing must be attained. Her research brought her great recognition: 15 gold medals, 19 degrees, and 2 Nobel Prizes, 1 in physics and 1 in chemistry. Bad mammer jammer. Curie's tenacity was evident not only in her desire to know, but also in her practical application of her research. During World War I, she noted what was happening on the battlefields and recognized that the technology she had discovered could help save lives. She and her daughter Irene, who would later also win a Nobel Prize, developed X-radiography and then led a movement to equip ambulances with X-ray equipment. And Curie trained 150 technicians to use it. Curie also helped found the Radium Institute at the University of Paris. Not only did she oversee the building of its laboratories, but she raised funds and materials in Europe and the United States to equip it. Curie observed, quote, "Nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood," end quote. Her intelligence and discernment allowed her to understand and discover many things that have made a positive impact on our world. Unfortunately, keen discernment did not extend to her health. Because she was on the cutting edge of research with radioactive materials, she did not protect herself from the effects of radiation. Her work slowly killed her. Rather suddenly, her health declined, and in 1934, she died of leukemia at age 66. Fleshing it out. Discernment can be described as the ability to find the root of the matter, and it relies on intuition as well as rational thought. Effective leaders need discernment although even good leaders don't display it all the time. For example, read these comments made by leaders, which I like to think of as famous last words. Number 1, I'll tell you, Wellington is a bad general. The English are bad soldiers, and we will settle this matter by lunchtime. Napoleon Bonaparte at breakfast with his generals preceding the Battle of Waterloo in 1815. Yeah. Second, I think there is a world market for about 5 computers. This was Thomas J. Watson, chairman of IBM in 1943. The last one it's not funny, but it is. I don't need bodyguards. That was Jimmy Hoffa 1 month before his disappearance in 1975. Discernment is an indispensable quality for any leader who desires to maximize effectiveness. It helps to do several important things. Number 1, discover the root issues. Leaders of large organizations must cope with tremendous chaos and complexity every day. They are never able to gather enough information to get a complete picture of just about anything. As a result, they have to rely on discernment. Researcher Henry Mintzberg of McGill University stated, organizational effectiveness does not lie in that narrow-minded concept called rationality. It lies in the blend of clear-headed logic and powerful intuition. End quote. Discernment enables a leader to see a partial picture, fill in the rest of the missing pieces intuitively, and find the real heart of the matter. Number 2, enhance your problem solving. If you can see the root issue of a problem, you can solve it. The closer a leader is to his area of gifting, the stronger his intuition and ability to see root causes. If you want to tap into your discernment potential, work in your areas of strength. 3, evaluate your options for maximum impact. Management consultant Robert Heller has this advice. Never ignore a gut feeling, but never believe that it's enough. Discernment isn't relying on intuition alone, nor is it relying only on intellect. Discernment enables you to use both your gut and your head to find the best option for your people and your organization. That one really hit me like a ton of bricks. I am constantly trying to rely on intellect, and if I'm being honest, I'm a lot of the times trying to suppress intuition or the emotional side. This just makes me aware of that dynamic, and I'll meditate on that further, but I just felt like I should share. Wrapping up this section here, number 4, multiply your opportunities. People who lack discernment are seldom in the right place at the right time. Although great leaders often appear to be lucky to some observers, I believe leaders create their own luck as the result of discernment, that willingness to use their experience and follow their instincts. Reflecting on it, are you a discerning leader? When faced with complex issues, can you readily identify the heart of the matter? Are you able to see root causes of difficult problems without having to get every bit of information? Do you trust your intuition and rely on it as much as you do your intellect and experience? I just said I don't. Are you going to twist the knife, John? If not, you need to cultivate it. Value non-traditional thinking. Embrace change, ambiguity, and uncertainty. Broaden your horizons experientially. Your intuition will only increase with use, bringing it home. To improve your discernment, do the following. Analyze past successes. Look at some problems you saw successfully in the past. What was the root issue in each problem? What enabled you to succeed? If you can capture the heart of the matter in a few words, you can probably learn to do it with future issues. Learn how others think. Which great leaders do you admire? Pick some whose profession or gifting is similar to yours and read their biographies. By learning how other discerning leaders think, you can become more discerning. Listen to your gut. Try to recall times when your intuition spoke to you and it was correct. You may or may not have listened, but still reflect on those times. What do those experiences have in common? Look for a pattern that may give you insight into your intuitive ability. Daily takeaway. For a long time, the Swiss had a lock on watchmaking. They built the best watches money could buy. And in the 1940s, they produced 80% of all watches worldwide. In the late 1960s, when an inventor presented an idea for a new type of watch to the leaders of a Swiss watch company, they rejected it. In fact, every Swiss company he approached had the same negative reaction. Believing his design had merit, the man took it to a company in Japan. The name of the organization was Seiko. The design of the watch was digital. And today, 80% of all watches use a digital design. One discernment-driven decision can change the entire course of your destiny. If you guys have been following along, like I said, this is chapter 7. You know, I've kind of used this language of describing the chapters like as meals. Chapter 7 was delicious. I mean, that was delicious. That was amazing. I feel like I'm in more of a reflective stage that's belying the excitement that I'm trying to express, but that was just so good. Like I said, I find myself leaning more towards intellect than discernment often, and then struggling with the outcomes of that. So I'm going to reflect on that some more. That was good stuff. I really like how he does the sections. It's not too much to ingest all at one time, meaning the chapters. It's also not so short that you're like, what are we doing? You know, sometimes you're reading a book and every 2 sentences is another section or another graph. So I appreciate that. But let's dive right into it. Like light out the window, we're trying to make the most of it. Chapter 8, focus. The sharper it is, the sharper you are. 2 quotes. If you chase 2 rabbits, both will escape. Unknown. 2nd quote. What people say, what people do, and what they say they do are entirely different things. Margaret Mead, anthropologist. A different kind of one-track mind. In 1998, the Atlanta Braves and the San Diego Padres played for Major League Baseball's National League pennant, and I had the privilege of attending several of the games. Back when I lived in San Diego, I was a die-hard Padres fan. When I moved to Atlanta in 1997, I changed my allegiance to the Braves. I rooted for them all season long until they faced San Diego in the playoffs. Why did I change? I could not bring myself to root against Tony. Tony Gwynn is the greatest hitter in the last 50 years, the best since Ted Williams. He has won an incredible 8 batting titles. Only Ty Cobb has 1 more. In his career, he has batted a tremendous .39. It's always a joy to watch Gwynn play. He is surely destined for the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York. If you saw Tony Gwynn on the street and didn't know who he was, you might not guess he was a professional ball player. At 5 feet, 11 inches, and 220 pounds, he doesn't look the part of a star athlete the way someone like Mark McGwire does. But make no mistake, Gwynn is a talented athlete, having been drafted out of college for baseball and basketball. And though he has tremendous talent, the real key to his success is his focus. Tony Gwynn loves hitting a baseball, and he devotes himself to it. Several times each season, he reads Ted Williams' The Science of Hitting, a book he first discovered and read while in college. He watches countless hours of videotape. At home, he has a library of hitting tapes continually fed by his 5 VCRs that record games via satellite dish. Now, I was already thinking, I don't know what time period this is set in, but I checked the front of the book. The guy actually wrote this book in 1999. So he's talking about VCRs. This is the same year The Matrix came out. You got to give him a little grace. Stick with me. He even reviews tapes on the road. When he travels for games, he takes 2 VCRs so that he can tape and edit every one of his at-bats. And when he is not swinging the bat or watching tape, he is talking about hitting constantly with teammates at the All-Star game with great players such as Ted Williams. Gwynn just can't get enough. Hitting is his joy. He has been known to arrive at social events with a batting glove sticking out of his pocket, having stopped to hit a few. And even when not practicing, watching tape, or talking to other hitters, he can be found playing ping pong or doing activities to improve his eye-to-hand coordination. Even his decision to remain in San Diego his whole career has improved his game. One of my strengths is knowing how much I can handle, Gwynn says. There are few distractions in San Diego. There isn't a lot of media hoopla. That helps me be consistent is right. Gwynn has batted over 300 in every season as a professional, except one, his first. Columnist George Will maintains that people who are great at what they do, such as Gwynn, have, quote, cultivated a kind of concentration unknown to most people, end quote. Fleshing it out. What does it take to have the focus required to be a truly effective leader? The keys are priorities and concentration. A leader who knows his priorities but lacks concentration knows what to do but never gets it done. If he has concentration but no priorities, he has excellence without progress. But when he harnesses both, he has the potential to achieve great things. I frequently meet people in leadership positions who seem to major in minor things. That just doesn't make sense. It would be the equivalent of Tony Gwynn spending all his time studying base stealing. Now, Gwynn can steal bases, He has stolen more than 300 in his career, but it's not his strength. And dedicating all of his time to that instead of hitting would be a waste of his time and talent. So the important question is, how should you focus your time and energy? Use the guidelines to help you. Focus 70% on strengths. Effective leaders who reach their potential spend more time focusing on what they do well than on what they do wrong. Leadership expert Peter Drucker notes, quote, "The great mystery isn't that people do things badly, but that occasionally they do a few things well. The only thing that is universal isn't competence. Strength is always specific." Nobody ever commented, for example, that the great violinist Jascha Heifetz probably couldn't play the trumpet very well. End quote. To be successful, focus on your strengths and develop them. That's where you should pour your time, energy, and resources. Focus 25% on new things. Growth equals change. If you want to get better, you have to keep changing and improving. That means stepping out into new areas. Gwynn modeled that several years ago after he had a conversation with Ted Williams. The old pro suggested that learning to hit inside pitches would make Gwynn a better player. Give me just a second. Myself a little splash. Anyway, the old pro suggested that learning to hit inside pitches would make Gwynn a better player. Gwynn, who preferred outside balls, worked on it, and his average went up significantly. If you dedicate time to new things related to areas of strength, then you'll grow as a leader. Don't forget, in leadership, if you're through growing, you're through. Focus 5% on areas of weakness. Nobody can entirely avoid working in areas of weakness. The key is to minimize it as much as possible, and leaders can do it by delegating. For example, I delegate detail work to others. A team of people at the Enjoy group handles all of the logistics of my conferences. That way, when I'm there, I stick to the things I do best, such as the actual speaking. Reflecting on it. How would you rate yourself in the area of focus? Have you been majoring in minor things? Have you spent so much time shoring up your weaknesses that you failed to build up your strengths? Do the people with the least potential monopolize your time? If so, you've probably lost focus. To get back on track with your focus, do these things. Work on yourself. You are your greatest asset or detriment. Work at your priorities. You will have to fight for them. Work in your strengths. You can reach your potential. Work with your contemporaries. You cannot be effective alone. Bringing it home. To improve your focus, do the following. Shift to strengths. Make a list of 3 or 4 things you do well in your job. What percentage of time do you spend doing them? What percentage of your resources is dedicated to these areas of strength? Devise a plan to make changes, allowing you to dedicate 70% of your time to your strengths. If you can't, it may be time to reassess your job or your career. Your weaknesses. Identify 3 or 4 activities necessary for your job that you don't do well. Determine how you can delegate the jobs to others. Will it require hiring staff? Can you partner with a coworker to share responsibilities? Develop a plan. Create an edge. Now that you've looked at priorities, think over concentration. What would it take for you to go to the next level in your main area of strength? What new tools do you need? Rethink how you do things and be willing to make sacrifices. Time and money spent to take you to the next level are the best investment you can make. Daily takeaway. Experienced animal trainers take a stool with them when they step into a cage with a lion. Why a stool? It tames a lion better than anything, except maybe a tranquilizer gun. When the trainer holds the stool with the legs extended towards the lion's face, the animal tries to focus on all 4 legs at once, and that paralyzes him. Divided focus always works against you. John C. Maxwell is just strumming my pain. Shout out Lauryn Hill. This book gets better and better the more that I read it. It seems to be very well timed. I don't know if you all believe in a higher power, but I certainly do. And this book is just right on time. I mean, literally down to the chapter. It's been a little minute. I was getting the new microphone and everything set up, but it's just right on time. Focus. I feel like, again, I'm reading them in chunks of 2. Nobody told me to do that. You read it at your leisure. But I find that the way that I've been going about it, maybe because I'm going about it that way, it seems that the chapters are correlated, have something to do with one another. And I feel that focus can leak when you have a lack of discernment. And when you have discernment, I think you're hyper aware of when focus is leaking. You know, hey, what are we doing here? What are we talking about here? How is this making us, progress towards the goal that we're focused on? So I love that. I really needed to hear that. It was very encouraging. Some stuff I won't go into on camera, but that was refreshing. That was so refreshing. I'm always tempted to just power through, keep reading, but I really want to take the time to let it reflect. I really want to meditate on what I've read. I encourage you to do the same. Thank you so much for tuning in up to this point. You could be anywhere watching anything. Lord knows there's enough drama, violence, and things out there. No judgment. I'm just saying I found myself getting just sucked into that. I don't just blame social media, but it's like I don't blame water, but there are some rivers you might want to watch out for, right? There's some veins of thought in social media that are highly entertaining. I love body cam footage. I love courtroom dramas. But when I really sit and reflect, again, like, where's my focus? What am I doing this for? Sometimes I'm just there for the judgment factor. Sometimes I'm just there because watching this person get sentenced to life makes me feel like I made better choices in my own life. And that's fair. It's a human feeling. But how am I feeding it? How am I showing up in the world, right? I'm just staring at a screen for hours at a time, so that somewhere in my medulla oblongata, I can feel relief. That's not how we get down. So I'm just trying to find some more external ways to be a leader in my own mind and hopefully inspire some others out there to just read a little more. Leaders are readers. That's definitely a classic sentence I've heard since childhood. I'm a firm believer in it, but I'm tired, y'all. Let's get up out of here. Peace.